Hello everybody! Today I am doing a video on 4 apps that will get you organized, get you on top of everything, and it'll also get your class involved. So if you're curious to see what 4 apps I have on my iPhone that I use in the classroom, keep watching. The first app that I want to share with you guys is the app Confer. This was a newly introduced app to me this year and I am absolutely in love with it. The great thing about Confer is it allows you to take anecdotal notes of your students during small group, during whole group, or even during an individual conference. Within Confer, you can set up various types of classes. Now you can break this down even further. Right now I have just writing and reading because those are the 2 subjects that I teach. Now if I wanted to, I could even break it down for whole group, I can break it down for word studies, whatever you want to do that'll help you as a teacher be able to assist your students more. Within each of the classes, you can easily add students. So you can add their first names with their last initial. You could just add first names so that you don't have to go through it. I will say go ahead and set it all up at once so that you're not having to set up students when you're going through your conferences. Once you have all of your students set up within those classes, it makes it so easy to get this app started and get to using it right away in your classroom. So let's say you're taking anecdotal notes. In this case, I'm using writing as my class. So I'm taking notes of some of my students and noticing some of the things that they're writing about within an individual conference. Then I could take it even further and I can add a strength that I am noticing within their conference. And then after that, taking it a little bit further and adding a teaching point. Now this could be something that I'm noticing that the student may need to work on, something that we need to focus on, and during my individual conference, I'll make a note of that. And then also go ahead and give that student a little mini lesson so that they can go back and practice that during their individual time. Now, what's the really cool part, and this is the part that I think I love the absolute most, is that when you're ready to do some type of a flex grouping, you can take all of those students that you've gone through and you have created notes, you've created strengths and then teaching points. You can sort it by those different areas. You can sort them by names. You can sort them by students that you want to look at their strengths to see what students all have the same strengths. You can also look at those teaching points. What students are struggling with what? And what's neat is that as you're adding some of those teaching points, Confer will go ahead and save those for you. So you're not having to retype things over and over again. If you notice that adding detail is one that students often have and you have quite a bit of students, it'll save adding details for you, so all you have to do is select it. Then you can group them and sort them out by those teaching points, and it all of a sudden just creates that flex grouping for you, so that's what you can focus on for each of those individual students. I absolutely love this app. I love how easy it is to use, and I love that it creates all of those groups for me. I don't know about y'all, but I am awful when it comes to anecdotal notes. I'm awful when it comes to figuring out which students need on what. And you kind of go off the top of your head and say, well, I think this student needs this, but you could be missing one. In this app, you're not missing any of your students. It automatically does that for you, and it takes all the guessing work out of it so that you can automatically pull that group and get started with the mini lesson right away. The next thing that I really like about this app is that it takes away all the paperwork. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like every single day I have a pile of paperwork that I am constantly having to sort through. Now I know that this year, I'm wanting to try a lot more with using apps and using technology and kind of converting that way. And this app is allowing me to do that with my small groups, with my individual conferences that I'm having with students. So it's less paperwork that you have to file, less paperwork that you have to say, oh man, I forgot to make a copy of that, because let's face it, it's all happened to us. So now you can take all of that out of it and you have this little bitty app on your phone, on an iPad, on an iPod, anything that it is that you have in your classroom, and you can use it very easily. The second app that I have for you is an app called Wheel Decide. I was reached out by one of the makers of Wheel Decide, and I was blown away by this app when I was kind of going through it and looking at it, and I fell in love with it. I don't know about all of you guys, but whenever you have done your classes to become teachers, and they're all like, use your popsicle sticks, and so you go through all this work of creating your cute little popsicle stick so that you can pull a popsicle stick out during whole group. Yeah, no more of that. Now this is so easy because you can create different presets within this app, which is phenomenal. So one way that I plan on using this is the whole popsicle kind of pick a popsicle, and then the student answers the question. You can use this for whole group, small group, and it's great. So here's what you do. You create how many players are going to be. If you're using this for you to create it for students that you just want to call out their names, you only put one. And so for me, it was the decider. Now, I could also have other students who come up and they can spin it and pick another student to answer another question, so on and so forth. So once you do that, then you can create how many are going to be on the wheel. So in this case, I used 24. I have 24 students in my class, so I just kind of named them girl, boy, boy, girl. That's pretty much it, because I didn't want to put all their names in there for at this moment. So I just created girl, boy, girl, boy. And once you do that, you can also decide whether you want them to have elimination. Elimination means that whoever's playing, they can get rid of that and that person's out. Or I think it is, once you spin it, that person's out, that little question's out, and the wheel gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I didn't want to do that. I wanted them all to have their names on there, because I don't like it to when students say, oh, my name was called, I'm done, whew, that was it. And they can kind of check out from the whole lesson itself. So I take away any type of elimination from that. So I turn the elimination off, and then you can get started with the game right away. So the player at the bottom shows who's going to spin. For me, it was just one, the wheel, the decider. And I can spin the wheel and it'll pick the person. What's great is that even though you don't see it on the wheel itself, the little person's name will pop up on the screen. So it automatically shows you who was picked. Now, what's also phenomenal about this is that you can save this as your preset. So you can save this and you don't have to remake it over and over and over and over again. I think that was the problem with a lot of the apps, is that it wouldn't allow me to do that, and that can get a little frustrating and tiring at the exact same time. Something else that you can do with this is do kind of games, and you can create this in small group, you can create it in whole group. So recently we've been doing kind of the all about me type games, and you can create kind of your favorites. So have various kids that are in a small group and put all of their names as the players, and then you can create a bunch of questions and put those in on the wheel. And so then students will go through and they'll just all spin the wheel and they'll be able to answer the question that gets on there. Again, I take away the elimination part of it because I don't want students to, I don't want this wheel to get smaller and smaller. They can keep playing over and over and over again. So this is a phenomenal app that I'm really excited to be using in the classroom. My hopes is to be able to use it with whole group, with small groups, and even to use it as a kind of an extra center choice. You can easily have students who can download it onto the apps and have all of those preset on the apps, and then students can use that to play different games. I don't know if you guys have seen the phenomenal Jenga game out there where they all have different colors on the tips. Well, here's that. The students can spin the wheel, they have a color, and then they have to answer the question and pull that Jenga out. So you can add more into that and get students really engaged with this app, which I think is phenomenal. It's that novelty, y'all. Like, I swear, the novelty is phenomenal in the classroom and gets kids excited, and it gets them wanting to learn. So definitely check out Wheel Decide if you haven't already. The next app that I have for you is Notability. Now, I know this one is probably an oldie for some of you, and you're like, well, I've already been using Notability. I decided to really dig deep into Notability this year, and because mainly, well, I have to. I didn't really get a choice this year, so I started playing around with Notability because my students are using it to be able to put a lot of their learning into it. They're going to be using it for writing, they're going to be using it for reading, and they're importing that all onto Schoology, which is where our school kind of keeps all of their information, which is phenomenal. I love, love, love that site. And what I love about Notability, and this is something that I've been kind of playing with back and forth, is that I can keep track of all of my notes. Now, I have one that's a divider for reading, a divider for writing, because this is where a lot of my lessons are going to be coming from. But the one thing that I really like for teachers, just in general, is to be able to create a divider for meetings. I feel like we go to a million meetings every single day. And sometimes you get some really great information from the meeting. Sometimes, it's just like, oh, this is like a to-do list of things that I need to accomplish type deal. So the important thing that I want to focus on with just creating a meetings divider is that you can break this down into different types of meetings. So I know for me, I have ELA meetings, I have vertical team meetings, I have induction meetings, I have faculty meetings that I go to. So I can break all of those down and create individual notes for them. So the cool part is that you can type it in, you can write with your finger if that's how you want to do it, or use a stylus if you have a stylus for your iPad. I choose to mainly type in my lessons or type in my notes. because it's the easiest for me. So I typically type in my notes. Something else that you can do is what I love about it. Again, this is to help to reduce all of that paperwork that we seem to be getting. And sometimes you're like, this is great. I really like this and I would love to look back on it, which we probably never ever do. But you're like, I really would love to go and look back on this. And then I got to file it somewhere. And when you file it somewhere, it's like, poof, it's gone. You never find it ever again. And you never go and look for it. This way, I feel like I will be more prone to go and actually review it and look at it through Notability. So what you can do is take a picture of it during your meeting and insert that picture into your notes that you're taking for the meeting that day. Another thing that you can do is add some type of recording, which is phenomenal. So maybe that you're listening to your principal, same thing, say something and you want to record it. So you record it and you have it in there and you can save it and listen over to it again and again. Maybe it could be some like steps that you're going through, procedures that you need to go through, and it's too fast for you to be able to type it, hit record and just let it go and you can listen to it afterwards. Something else that I really, really love about Notability is that it syncs up with your Google Drive. So this is really important. Make sure that you go through and sync it up with your Google Drive, because if you were to lose any type of information and the app was to disappear, all of your files would be saved within Google Drive. So make sure you back it up to Google Drive. And then what I do is I have documents that I've used before in the past that I can import, and this is mainly what I'm doing with my students too. They're going to import some of those documents into Notability and be able to answer questions, use it as a kind of a notes taker type deal. So you can add those in there and be able to write on them or make additional notes to it, which is phenomenal. So Notability is something that I'm strongly using this year. I'm really kind of pushing myself to make sure that I'm using this app way more than what I've typically done in the past. So definitely check out Notability. The last app that I have for you is an app called Seesaw. Again, this is a new app for me. I'm not really sure how long Seesaw has been out. But this is something new for me, and this was kind of introduced to me by my district. I did a lot of research on it. I've been using it a little bit here and there, and I absolutely love Seesaw. So with Seesaw, it is an online portfolio for your students. So you guys, I don't know if you remember kind of last year where I created these really big, huge, elaborate portfolios for my students to take home at the end of the year. If that is something that you were just like, oh, that's so cute, but I am just not that crafty teacher. The cicadas. Okay, I am just not a crafty teacher, and I don't think I could do that. This is kind of your holy grail of portfolios, basically. But what I love about it is something else, and I'm going to add on to that in just a little bit. So it's an online portfolio for your students, and this is where you can keep track of any type of work, any recordings, any notes that you may have, and it creates a portfolio for each of your students. So the first thing that you go through is you create a class. So I just kind of created a sample class, just something fake that I could use for the meanwhile. And then you can choose to do it by email. So if your students have an email account that they can attach it to, or you can do it by QR code. I chose to do it by QR code because through email you cannot set up your students' names. They have to log in for it to be set up. So I went on ahead and did a QR code, and I created my class list within it. So within my class list, then I could go through and attach anything that I wanted to attach. You can add recordings, pictures, drawings, notes, a lot of things that you can add in there so that you can keep track of your students' learning. So you would take a picture of something, and then you could easily add it into any of the students' portfolios. So maybe this is a group project and you have several students who are working on this one thing. You can add that in there. For me, I've just been putting in some kind of random little things here and there. Something that I really, really love about using Seesaw is for my station works. So in my stations, you know, you've always have those little cute little things that your students are doing, but the problem is you just have them take it home and you never get to see what's happening. Well, this is a kind of a fix for that problem. So you can easily have students who can just go grab, if you only have one iPad or two iPads, go grab an iPad, take a picture, and put it into their portfolio. So you can view all of your students at one time. You can view them individually. You can use this for a parent conference, and what's even cooler is your parents can get access and view it at home. So this would be a great way for them to add a conversation starter of that, what did you do in school today? No, instead it's more like, oh, I saw that you did this today. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? So it's a great way for parents to really get involved in what's happening at school. And it's also really, really easy, y'all. Like, it's super quick and easy. You can put it onto various iPads. For me, since all my kids have one-to-one, each kid is going to have their own iPad. If I wanted to be the sole person with the access to be able to do that, it's so easy to just be able to, as your students are completing the assignment, go and take pictures and add it into their portfolio. I promise you it takes like 3 seconds to add a picture of what a student's work and add it to their online Seesaw portfolio. So really, really excited to be able to use it, and I thought this was a great way for you to be able to organize things so you don't have to, again, keep a lot of that clutter paper kind of all over the place. I know that whenever you create actual portfolios for your students, it is a lot of work trying to file it, trying to maintain it and keep it organized. This way, you don't have to do any of that. You can ship it home and be done with it. Or you could put it out in the hall whenever you're done with that, let the kids send it home. And then you still have a record of everything that they've been doing, and it shows the progress that they've been making within the classroom, which is phenomenal. So great things that you can use within the classroom that are really, really easy. So that is the end of my 4 apps that will help get you organized, get you prepared for class, and get your students involved as well. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Please make sure to subscribe and share it out to anyone who you think might benefit from this video as well. Leave a comment down below telling me which one was your favorite app, or if you have another app that you think is phenomenal and you just absolutely have to share it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you really, really soon. Bye!